Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Momentum Mondays. I am super excited to welcome to the line the person that is going to navigate this call. She is a phenomenal woman hailing from the beautiful city of Newark, Delaware. She is the owner of Michelle Marie Fashion Agency. She is the creator of of the Women of More campaign. And you all know she is always on fire. Good morning, Michelle Washington.
Good morning. Woo! Thank God it's Momentum Monday! Woo! We came ready. We're fired up and prepared to offer you new systems, resources, and encouragement to stretch your thinking further into the future. The importance of finishing strong is just important as starting. And when we first started Momentum Mondays, we gave you 4 things to keep your momentum. 1, to look up, identify your why and your purpose. Number 2, fill up, get your mind and spirit refreshed so you can stay in the race. Number 3, circle up, get the right partners to run with you. And lastly, keep up, keep your commitments and have an accountability partner. I'd like to introduce to you my co-host. She's the founder of Fort Wayne Girls Rock and Girls Rock Summer Camp, the voice for girls and women, the real deal, Danita Washington. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
She's the owner of Virtually Yours, founder of Saving Our Youth, author of the #1 best-selling book, Mission Unstoppable, with Les Brown and George Frazier, the ambassador of administration, Lynette Rogers. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. I'm ready to rock and roll with the Momentum Monday movers and shakers. Let's go.
Let's go. She's a vice president in human resources in corporate America, the creator and host of Momentum Monday, the captain of this ship, the head coach of this team, Jill Green. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm ready.
Please join us and invite others to our Momentum Monday discussion group. Please, if you're on or you're able to go to our Facebook page, go on our page now and say that I'm on the call. Hashtag I'm on the call. We just finished The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, which was awesome, phenomenal, great. I hope that you applied the principles to your life and you're able to see the manifestation of those principles working for you. Today, we're going to start a new book. The book is called The Top 10 Distinctions Between Millionaires and the Middle Class by by Keith Cameron Smith. The Top 10 Distinctions Between Millionaires and the Middle Class by Keith Cameron Smith. Let me give you just a couple of things which are so fascinating to me. And the first thing is, Keith was able to write this book in 7 days. 7 days, which was awesome. 7 days. I wonder what we can do in 7 days if we put our minds to it. Secondly, he understood, and this was the reason for him writing a book. It was 3 things. He understood his responsibility to share what he has learned over the years. And the first quote that came to my mind was, "To whom much is given, much is required." Then he identified his purpose. He understood his purpose in life and began to activate and move forward to doing this book. Last, he wanted to leave a legacy. He wanted to make sure his children would remember the lessons he taught them. We're going to begin with distinction number 10. And he did it in descending order in its importance. And I hope that you'll get the book, download the book. You can actually go to YouTube. The Audible is there for you to listen to. And you also can download the book from Amazon. I think it's just $3 or more, and it's a short read. So make sure you get that so you can follow along with us. Millionaires thinks long term. The middle class thinks short term. Millionaires think long term. The middle class think short term. The key word in that chapter was think. Do you know that everything starts with a thought? Do you realize you can see it in your mind before you do it? Every morning, I'm not that type of person that prepare their clothes the night before, which I think is great for some. But what I do, I think about what's in my closet, but then I respond to my thought. And I'm giving you that example because it's the smallest things that we could think about that we can create and have the manifestation of it. Let me use another area in my life. This time next year, I'm looking to take my entire family to Disney World. And in the book, he talks about the long term and how to plan for that. Now, sometimes what happens is that we stop with the thought and not move from the thought, which will bring us to his point with the groups that he have identified. There are 5 groups that he identified in this book or in this chapter. The first one is very poor, the middle class, rich, and very rich. Very poor, middle class, rich, and very rich. I believe sometimes we achieve our goals in these areas or groups because of our mindset. Everything starts with our mindset. Now, he actually broke it down in 3 other groups with very poor and poor. He said the very poor and poor, they are survivors. They plan day to day, week to week. The middle class, they live a comfortable life, month to month. And then you have the rich and the very rich. They're the ones that live a life of freedom, year to year, decade actually to decade. I'm going to bring in my co-host to begin to talk about, because I know all the time when we're talking, we want to know how do we move from maybe one mindset to a different mindset, a different class to the next class. I'm going to bring in my co-host to begin to talk to us about how we move, or what are the points that we can apply to our life that will help us move forward into the different classes in our life. Danita Washington, we had an awesome conversation yesterday, last night, about these different points. And one of the points that you brought to our awareness was risk. Talk to us about why risk is so important in achieving these goals.
Well, Michelle, one of the things I'm learning about taking risks is that you have to be willing to leave what's comfortable. And for me, the example that I drew back to was when I was younger and trying to really transition from poverty to middle class. One of the most difficult things for me was removing myself from systems. So, like, receiving food stamps. And, I can remember my ex-husband at the time. He was ready for middle-class living. And I wasn't quite there because I was so used to systems. And so one of the things he did when he transitioned in jobs and we were, quote, unquote, the middle class, we immediately moved from using food stamps to writing checks for groceries. And I remember that was like a shock to my system. It was like, I am not going to give these people $150, $200 for groceries. But what I didn't understand is that, that was poverty thinking, because the money was there. I was able to afford groceries in cash out of my account, and I still had a poverty mindset. I was stuck. And I know there's calls on the call thinking, did she really just say that? Absolutely I did, because that is my truth. And so I think part of what I'm learning is that, in order for us to go to a millionaire mindset and to transition from poverty or very poor to middle class, you have to be willing to take the risk. And part of it was I was stuck in a mindset, so I wasn't used to using cash for groceries. My mindset was the food stamp card bought the groceries. And so in changing and releasing the shackles that I had placed on my millionaire thinking, I then began to prepare for legacy. And so taking the risk is something that, is huge in changing your social statuses. And another thing I think we have to do is really look to build relationships outside of our comfort zone, our socioeconomic groups, our race, and our gender. The most rewarding relationships socially and financially that have come for me were the ones that I took risks, and they took me into new journeys on my life. So remember, fear and faith cannot ride in the same car with you. So hashtag change your mind, change the kind of life you will have.
Very good, Danita, very good, because I know that had to be a risk, and that's why I called you the real deal, because you are the real deal when it comes to being transparent with our audience, and which is so valuable and key for us. We have to make sure that we're taking the risk in life where we want more out of life, and for you to understand that concept was huge, and I know that was just a season in your life, and now you're moving on. Lynette, talk about the challenge. Why is it so important to challenge ourselves? What is the reason? Why is it so difficult at times for us to be honest with ourselves?
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, this book right here is definitely just got me pumped up because it makes clear distinctions on the mindset. When you opened up, Michelle, you said that, everything begins with a thought. And so I just reflect back on my thinking many years ago, and how growing up, there was certain beliefs about money, there were limitations in our mind about money. So I'm sure some of the people on the line heard things like, money don't grow on trees, money isn't important. I'm not sure what conversations were, you heard, but some people have that stinking thinking, and those thoughts dictate our actions. So we have to challenge our beliefs, right? Because that is where your behavior is shaped. You must challenge it, because it just cracks me up, because you can tell, and I know around tax season, you'll see what mindset certain people have. Because tax season, some people are instantly thinking they're millionaires, and a few months later, they're broke. How they spend their money. And I remember, hey, that used to be me. I couldn't wait for tax season. It was like, okay, I'm coming up. Oh, my goodness. And I'm wondering, how come by the time April come, I'm broke? Like, everybody's like, April 15th is the cutoff, but I was broke by April 15th, right? But it was my mindset and my beliefs about money. So I know I just want the audience, the listening audience, to understand we have to be honest about our thinking and challenge some of those beliefs that we have, some of the beliefs that we grew up just thinking about money. And just because the book is focusing on money, that is just what we're speaking about. But that's with everything in life. What are our beliefs? And we need to make sure we're willing to challenge some of those beliefs, because trust me, if you just have simple conversations with millionaires, middle class, and those poor people, the conversation is different about one simple topic such as money. Michelle.
Absolutely. Excellent point. And I remember Bishop talking one time on a call. He was talking about how we do things based upon what our parents did, or what they said was law, or what how they made a cake. We continue to do that. We never challenge our belief, the way we think. A lot of times, in relationships, we talk about how people are wired and we deal with them accordingly. But sometimes we need to challenge ourselves in the way that we perceive things. It is okay to think differently, especially when you want more out of life. Jill, what I would love for you to do, now when I first started the call, I started talking about the small plan, or the short term that I have in reference to that. And the reason why I said that is because we have different callers on the line. We have people that are not there at today that's ready to start a long-term plan. But I would like for you to talk about the long-term plan, and I would love for you to talk about patience, the third point, and the how to move from one class to the other.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited about this book. Michelle, I read this book about 3 years ago, and it literally began to reshape how I began to think. And you opened up the call with something really, really powerful, and I just want to revisit it for a second. And I hope everybody heard it. Get this book. When she opened up the call, she said there are 5 social groups, but she talked about how they think differently. Michelle told us that the very poor think day to day. The poor think week to week. The middle class think month to month. The rich think year to year, but the very rich think decade to decade. Now, we're not talking about just thinking, Michelle. They're talking about planning, like you said. And this really blessed me because I said, okay, where am I in this category? Because, folks, don't be deceived. You can find yourself in different areas based on how you think about different things, right? So, Michelle, you talked about long-term, which we see here based on the book. The rich and the very rich either think year to year, decade to decade. So I challenged myself to think long-term. So I have a daughter who is in 6th grade, and I think, man, Jordan has 6 more Christmases until she goes to college. She has 6 more birthdays. She has 6 more Thanksgiving. She has 6 more. I'm breaking it down. Like, she has 6 more of these major events with us until she goes to college. But what that means for me and my husband is, we have 6 years to make sure that her college tuition and everything is set aside and ready. So we're already right now, Michelle, and this is not new, right, planning for college. At least people talk about it all the time. But we're consciously, it's written on our big paper that we stick on our wall, we see every morning when we get up, is we have 6 years to make sure that there's an additional $40,000 plus set aside for her college education. That's just an example. It's not a big deal for some people, Michelle, but I know that sometimes we get caught up in the rat race that we operate with the very poor mindset. We're just worried about the day-to-day. Michelle, you also asked me to talk a little bit about, well, how do you go from one social group, one social mindset to the other? How do you go from being very poor in the mindset to a rich or very rich? One of the things I would say is patience. See, the book talks about that millionaires understand the power of delayed gratification. That means they may not go out to eat every single day. They may not overspend for Christmas. They may not drive certain cars. I mean, there's a book called The Millionaire Next Door. That book is an old book, but it will blow you away. The real millionaires, and I'm talking about wealthy people that are wealthy, Michelle, they find themselves buying old, used, beat-up trucks, and and they don't pay for certain things because they understand the value of delayed gratification. With the middle class mindset, they want everything right now. They'll put it on credit cards. They'll borrow money. They will do things that they need because they want it now. And so patience, the power of patience is what's important, which will help you go from one social group mindset to the next. Michelle?
Jill, that hits home with me so much in regards to whether it's an instant gratification. I was talking about that last week, how sometimes, and I had to change my thinking because when I saw someone, a mentor, doing well, I would aim for that, the instant, but never looked at the progress of getting to that place. So, listeners, we talked about 3 things thus far. We talked about the risk, the challenge, and the patience. I challenge you in this moment. I give you a challenge for the next 8 hours of your day. I challenge you to think different. Challenge yourself in the way you're perceiving things. Challenge the way that you see your workplace, your goals, your family, your personal life. Challenge yourself to just shift the way that you're thinking. This 4th point that we're going to talk about is your circle, your relationships, and how important it is to have the right people, crew, posse around you, the right relationships. I said this before. It's not the people that are in our circles that's the problem. Actually, it starts with us because we chose those individuals to be in our circle in our relationship. Danita, you talked briefly about it earlier in the call, but let's talk about that a little bit, ladies, about your circle. Why is it so important to have the right people in your circle? Danita?
Well, for me, Michelle, one of the things I've learned is that, having the right people in your circle helps you stretch your thinking. Anita Dorch was a person that came in my life when my boys were younger, and one of the things she helped me transition was Christmas time. She saw me doing a Christmas list for my boys, and I probably was up to, I ain't gonna lie, probably about $2,000 in gifts, and, I was on a computer. And she said to me, why don't you give your kids an experience and some exposure? Why are you spending $2,000 and your kids haven't taken a plane ride yet? Why would you spend $2,000 on gifts to go under a tree and your kids haven't left the country? And so it was in that moment that I had to get away from what my traditions were from my family. They're not bad people. It was just the lack of experiences that my own family maybe had had. And so I took Christmas time, they were sixth graders, and it was scary because my family couldn't believe that we were not going to have gifts under the tree. But what we did was we chose to give an experience to our kids. And since then, that's what we have done. And we've gone to NBA games, Brazil, Disney World, all the things that I wished or I was told I would get at young age, I didn't. I gave to my kids. And I say all that to say, had I not had a moment with someone who was already at middle class and probably a little bit more rich than I was, I wouldn't have gotten that experience. And so for her to speak into my life was critical. And she's played a big role in my circle being stretched. So I think it's critical that you stretch yourself beyond just the relationships that you grew up with, but you get some people who are living at a higher level than you so that you can have some things to achieve too, Michelle.
I agree, Danita. I believe what you said about stretching. If you are not being stretched in your relationship with the people around you, then what is the purpose? Hey, Jill, I know the importance of you being in my life, you being a dear friend to me, being in my circle. You push me, you inspire me, you actually challenge me. Why is it important for you to have key people in your circle? People that inspire you, people that motivate you, and you talk to us about that constantly of the different people in your circle. Talk to me about one person in your circle that have challenged you to be better.
Michelle, this is an amazing topic, and I want to thank you for leading us today through this particular chapter of the book. Your circle is everything. That's how you grow. You don't know that you're growing unless you have somebody that's close to you that's almost like a mirror, right? That's a reflection of either where you want to be or where you should be. And so there is a young lady, her name is Tish, and my husband and I just actually visited her and her husband a couple of weekends ago. And that couple inspires us so much. When we leave after spending a weekend with them, man, we feel like we can take over the world. We come home and say, man, we're not doing anything yet. Like after you have a conversation with somebody in your circle, at some point you should feel like, man, I still have work to do. I would tell you they were sharing with us their family's 10-year plan. Now, most of us struggling with our 30, 60, 90-day plan. And we get excited when we already have our 2016 mapped out. I just said, she shared with me their family's 10-year plan. That included their financial goals. That included the goals they had for their kids, down to what grade they would be in, the kind of schools they're going to be in, the kind of support that they need. Where she's going to be in her life. The 10-year plan. Michelle, that was very inspiring to me. And I'm the planning Nazi. I love planning. I love goal setting. It took a lot for me to put together a 5-year plan. It stretched my thinking so much. But here it is, this woman who is busier than anybody I know, they sat down and put together a 10-year plan. And that was so powerful to me. So it's so important to have people in your life that stretch you because that's how you grow, Michelle.
Again, team, we're talking about the top 10 distinctions between millionaires and the middle class by Keith Cameron Smith. please go to our Facebook page, invite others to our Facebook page and to this call. This call is beneficial to you. What would you do without Momentum Monday? What would you do? Please, the call will actually be posted back on our Facebook page later today, but it's important for us to apply these principles to our lives. We're getting ready to transition from this call to our after call. Please stay on the call if you can. We're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to get into the relationship a little bit deeper. But please unmute yourself and get ready to say that I'm going to challenge myself to think differently.
Differently. I'm going to challenge myself to think differently.
Going to challenge myself to think differently.
Going to challenge myself to think differently.
I'm going to challenge myself to think differently.
Hey, Jill, let's continue our conversation about this, about the circles, about relationships. Let's go.
Absolutely. So, Michelle, thank you. You did an amazing job this morning. Thanks to Danita and Lynette also for helping us navigate just the very first distinction of the book, top 10 distinctions between middle class and millionaires. Folks, this book will change your life. You need to get the book. Even if you want to do the audio version, we'll post a link up today so you don't have to look for it. It's amazing. Michelle, we're going to talk about relationships, but let's break down the premise, because we're talking about mindsets here. Keith Cameron Smith says, the very poor think day to day. Let's break this down for a second. I mean, he said the very poor, and I wrote this in the Facebook group, the very poor think day to day. The poor think week to week. That's that weekly paycheck because they got to hurry up and pay that. Then the middle class, right, they think month to month. And then the rich year to year and the very rich decade to decade. The very rich are planning out for decades to come. That's amazing. And these groups all want different things. The very poor and poor, they desire survival. They're just trying to make it another day. The middle class, Denise talked about, they desire comfort. They just want to be comfortable. But the rich and very rich, they want freedom. And there was one interesting section I read in the book, Lynette, and it talked about how millionaires want freedom because they want to control their own lives. The middle class put their lives in the hands of those who have freedom. Lynette, what do you think about that? That's powerful. I'm going to read that again. Millionaires want freedom, right? They want to control their own lives. That means they own businesses, Lynette, right? They own companies. They give the jobs. And middle class, they put their lives in the hands of those who have the freedom. What do you think about that?
You know, that is so powerful because what it says and what we see is the middle class, that mindset just seeks comfort, right? And when you're growing up and you hear go to school, get good grades, and get a good job, then no wonder you might have that mindset because the conversation is not go out and take risks and solve problems and seek that freedom where you can control when you get up, when you take vacations. You have full control, but that's just not the conversation. So the middle class mindset is trained to seek comfort. So it's interesting because, again, if you don't know what you don't know, then you live year after year after year seeking comfort, afraid to take risks. And that's where the magic happens. You know, I'm always telling people, step outside of your comfort zone. You have to take risks. The rich, the very rich, that's what they live for. You have to take risks. It's not luck. It has nothing to do with that person being lucky or anything like that. They're taking risks. They're taking calculated risks. They have a plan, and they're going after each thing on their goal list. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. That's very uncomfortable at times. But it's a matter of what you want, right? So that point definitely makes a clear distinction on that mindset. So it's very important that we truly dissect that and understand exactly what that means. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be comfortable, but just understand that when you're stuck there, you know, it's a part of that rat race. That's why you just can't get ahead. It's, you know, paycheck to paycheck, month to month, or, you know, just in that constant cycle.
Right. Well, the other thing, Lynette, is that you can be comfortable, but that will only bring you so much. You can be comfortable, but that will only take you so far. And Roxanne Green in the Facebook post, she just said that she's actually in each of these social group mindsets at different times, which that can happen, right? There's sometimes Danita, Lynette, and Michelle, and I'll say, okay, Jill, this is a poor mentality right now. You think like a poor person. This is a poor mindset. Because I've read this book has opened up my mind. I challenge my thoughts. Jill, you're thinking through fear right now. That's fearful thinking. That's a poor mindset, right? You need to graduate and you need to think differently. I need to have a rich mindset in this particular category. But you can go back and forth based on what we're talking about. But the goal, obviously, is for us all to have that rich mindset. But you only get there if you have to force yourself there. And you force yourself there through the things that Michelle talked about today. That circle will help propel you to a new social group way of thinking. Your patience will take you there. But also what you read, what you put in your mind will take you there. Am I right, Michelle?
Absolutely right. And that's why I love the challenge that you have brought into my life with the different books, not even just the books that we're doing on Momentum Mondays, but other books that's going to inspire, to challenge my thought process. And that's why it's so important that, and in the Bible it says, it gives different lists of things that we should be thinking on. Because if we're thinking about a particular thing, then our planning, our actions will be different. And from our actions, then the results, the return of it all will be different. So it is important for us to read. And for those people that don't have the time to actually pick up a physical book, things are so easy nowadays, Jill, that you can download. You can go onto YouTube. Everything is there. We talked about this last week about the different people that I may not personally have a relationship with, like the Oprahs or Kerry Washington or First Lady Obama, but I could go to YouTube and listen, because listening is bringing about change in my thoughts because it's feeding my mind.
I love it. So I love this particular chapter, and this is actually the very first one, and it's called Distinction Number 10. Again, we're talking about the top 10 distinctions between the middle class and the millionaires. And I love this because it's really about how people think. And, Danita, it's also about the questions that they ask themselves. The book talks about how millionaires say to themselves, or the rich mindset says, how can I double my income next year? Right? What questions do you ask yourself? Not how am I going to get through today? Right, and we even say that if I could just get through today. No, that's a poor mindset. The rich mindset will say, how can I double my income? How can I legitimately save money on my taxes? How can I get to the next level, right? How can I put together a 20-year business plan? Those are the questions that the person with the rich mindset will ask themselves, right? And this all sounds sometimes this could be an intimidating process, Danita, right? I mean, when you think about 85% of the people in this country, number one, they don't plan. And if they do, only 10% of them even write it down, right? So we're speaking about this like it's so easy, but the fact is most people don't plan or write down a plan. Now we have the nerve, Danita, to talk about a 10 to 20-year plan. I mean, what do you think about that? Are we crazy or what?
No, I don't think we're crazy. I think that we, and if we are, we're crazy enough to believe that we are deserving of it. And I think that's part of it. You know, God doesn't really give anybody a dream that he doesn't give you the tools to manifest it. And so I think part of us is that we don't take what is purpose. It's our purpose. to live healthy and vital and have financial freedom. But I think we have to learn to walk in that. And one of the things that I wanted to go back to, Jill, was hitting that circle. You know, what does your circle of friends talk about? Who in your circle talks about financial freedom? I'm in a group now of like 5 or 6 women, and the first thing one of the ladies did was set us up with a financial planner. Hello? You know, I told her, I don't make what y'all make. She said, it doesn't matter. You can make $20,000. You have to find ways, though, that you are able to secure yourself financially at the next level. And so part of that circle of friends is who you hang out with and what do y'all talk about. See, millionaires, they don't talk about people. They don't do that. They talk about ideas and then plan them. They move forward with it. Whereas a lot of times, poverty-minded people, they talk about people. That's what they do. They spend their time dreaming, being mad at people who are successful, and staying in a negative space. But millionaires, they usually are people who, when they are talking about somebody, they're talking about what they saw good in that person and what they can take from what they have seen and learned and move their ideas forward. And that's a huge deal in the circle of friendships. I think we have to gravitate to that, gaining a millionaire mindset instead of a poverty mindset when it comes to that circle of friends.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks, you're here with us live on the After Call. If you would like to participate in the conversation, we would love someone to chime in with us. All you have to do is hit *6. That will unmute your line, and I'll see you. I'll be able to see if you muted your line, and you can join in on the discussion. We'd love for someone to participate with us. This is, I think, the beginning of an incredible series. This is all about the mindset, and the mind drives what you do, which creates action. Actions create behaviors, and behaviors bring you results in your life. The question is, are you satisfied with what you're getting? If you are not, we need to evaluate ourselves. I think I have a 678 number on the line that unmuted.
It's me. Good morning. It's Roxanne.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
I have to say, you guys, I don't know how you did it again, but you were in my thoughts. I have been thinking about this over the weekend, about making some changes. And I even told my son, I was like, we need to have a family meeting. Now, I understand it's just the two of us, but we're still going to have a family meeting about some changes that we're going to make for next year. I need to do like you, Jill. Caleb and Jordan are in the same grade. I have 6 more Christmases. I have 6 more years to instill in him, to show him some things and take him some places and do things with him. And as a single parent, I heard you say $40,000, and I had said to myself 30. So I'm on the same track as you and Carlton, because I just need to make sure that I have something, and I'm praying that he continues to be an AB student and he can get a scholarship. But everything that you guys have said about changing your mindset, making that first step is the most important step. It's the scariest thing that we all have to do, is to take that initial step. And if you think about it and you write it down, you can see it. And it's a constant if you keep reading it and believing that you can make that change.
That's right.
And you have the desire. If you believe in yourself and believe that all things are possible, there shouldn't be anything that's standing in our way except that person in the mirror staring back at us.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you shared that this morning, because, you know, we all have, a lot of us who have kids who are up, you know, coming up, and, you know, we all have those thoughts of, okay, man, we got to start planning. And, yes, I pray that, you know, somebody in this house gets a scholarship. However, I'm planning, right, being proactive for that. And absolutely, you guys should be, you know, having a family meeting, even if it's just the two of you, because that's your family. And, you know, my kids, they roll their eyes when we do it, but we sit down and have a family meeting. And most recently, our family meeting was how they can help mommy and daddy financially, right? Because we're trying to do something, Roxanne. We got goals. We're trying to go somewhere. But every time we go out, you know, we can't have the kids begging, can we stop here? Can we stop there? Can I have this? And so up front, we just say, look, these are our goals, and this is what we're trying to do. No, you don't have a job, but this is how you can help mommy and daddy. A, we need everybody to turn off all the lights. That's part of your job in the house. Make sure you turn lights out. B, do not ask to eat out when we're out. Don't ask. because I mean, I'm a family of 4, but we could spend a grip. My kids are like eating like giants over here, right? So we can spend $50, you know, every day over the weekend if we eat out. So if you think you're gonna be hungry, take a snack. You're big enough to prepare your own. You know, there's just certain things. For Christmas, these are the few people right here that you get to buy gifts for. This is the budget. So I think that's awesome, Roxanne. You're on the right track. I'm so excited you guys are going to be having your family meetings. And, you know, help him put together his plan. Jordan and CJ had a plan for 3rd grade and for 4th grade. Now, trust me, they did not like any part of it. But we did it, and I'm just trying to get them in the practice of planning too. So thank you so much for sharing. That was awesome.
Hey, Jill, what you're saying is that long-term plan that you have for your family, and that's the difference between the poor and the millionaire, because we could all think it. We all want the best. We all want to, you know, do things differently in life, but what's the difference? It's not a luck, and we talked about that last night. A lot of times our children, sometimes we as adults, we think, oh, they just lucky. They were, you know, they're from that particular class, or they know those type of people. No, it's work. We have to put the work in, and that's the separation from thinking to doing. We talked about it last week. We can't just be faith walkers only. We got to be doers as well.
So, and Danita, I'm gonna bring you in because I know you wanna share something. But this call, you know, is not designed to be a hype, get excited call. Like, we can do those, but I really, really, really hope that we are inspiring people. Like Roxanne said, she was just thinking about this, and now her and her son are gonna go and sit down, have a family meeting, put together a plan. Our desire is to inspire you to put a plan together before the end of the year, right? I mean, we got to take this in phases, right? Because if you haven't put it together a 30-day plan, I don't expect you to tomorrow put together a 20-year plan. But let's
Ladies?
just, take it baby steps. Yes.
Hi, I am so sorry to interrupt, but I'm just got to work, and I really wanted to touch base. First, let me say that you guys, even though I've not met you except Michelle, you are part of my inner circle, even though you don't know it. Because every Monday you feed into me, and I so appreciate that. I wanted to touch base on this because I have looked over my life, and I can see, I know when I was very poor. I know when I became poor. I know when I became middle class, and I know when I became rich. I am now working to become very rich. But one of the things that came to mind while you guys were talking was I've done the day-to-day, and it's a struggle. I mean, it was a struggle. I've done the month-to-month. We've been working on the year-to-year, and I realize I need to be working on a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. And also, while going, listening to all of this, what really came to mind was this is, through my whole life, it's been the slight edge without even realizing it, and it will be the slight edge going forward. It is just doing the day in and day out, doing the right thing over and over, even when it doesn't look or feel like you're moving. As long as I keep doing it, I know that eventually it will move. And just looking over, like I said, my life, it's profoundly, I don't know the word to actually use here. It's I've just been totally blessed my entire life. When you're struggling through something, knowing that just keep going, keep moving forward, you will get through it. And that's what God promises us, that he will carry us through.
That's right.
So thank you. My husband and I will be working on our 5-year plan.
That is awesome. I'm so glad you shared this morning. So glad you shared this morning.
During my very poor days, I went from being married with 2 children to suddenly, and I mean suddenly, being a single mom because he walked away. And that was, that day in and day out. And this was back when before, I would never claim bankruptcy. That was not in my blood. I was, you made the bill, you pay the bill. And there were a few key people that I know God had put in place to help teach me. And one of them was the gentleman who said, it's your choice to sink or to swim.
Wow.
And with two little children, I could not sink, because if I sank, that meant my children sank.
Right.
And so that's what I went through. Like, every choice was, how is it going to affect my children?
Absolutely.
How is it going
Jennifer,
to affect?
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. That is so powerful. I know so many people were able to be blessed just by you sharing your testimony. And we love the fact that you join us every Monday. So thank you so much. I'm getting a lot of text messages from other folks who want to chime in. This is apparently a very, very, very hot topic. Love the fact that you guys are being blessed by today's call. As we transition, Danita and then Lynette.
Well,
and I was trying to see too, Danita, if I'm not sure if Jessica's able to talk or not, but I wanted her to jump on and share as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. She didn't text back to say if she was in class or something. But I wanted to share one of my former students, and she's a Girls Rock ambassador at Purdue this year, senior. But one of the things that she put in our Facebook Momentum discussion group, she said, which I thought was powerful, you don't know you're growing until you look at the people in your circle, because they are often a reflection of you. And I'm thinking that is so true, because, so many times people say, my circle's small and I keep it that way. Well, you lose out then on what the plan is, because I really do believe, as the woman said and I stated earlier, and Michelle and the other co-hosts, your circle needs to be different levels of what you're trying to be. And that was the one thing that I think Mrs. Dortch offered me, Jill offers me, that we're not all at the same socioeconomic level, the academic level or whatever. And Jessica, the Holy Spirit moved last night, because her and her study group at Purdue, they finished in their final week. This is final week for college students. And they were working on a 25-page paper last night, Jill. And the Holy Spirit just had me sending people job. I sent a text message out just as a prayer to her. But here's the thing. I'm 20-some years older than her, Jill, but I'm still a part of her circle. You see what I'm saying? So it's not our age. And I, too, went through a struggle of academics and trying to pass a class. And so she said that the text message just moved her last night, and she shared it with the entire group. So I'm praying that because she was on the call this morning, they have pressed their way and they have finished their papers. But my point is, what does your circle look like, and who can speak into you, and who is further ahead of you, and then who is still behind you, so that you can push somebody but then be pulled when you need to. Just thoughts.
I'm sorry. Yes, Danita, I'm saying yes, absolutely, and I was on mute. Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, it's a blessing that you're in her life as her mentor, as someone in her circle. Like, we all need that. We all need someone who's already traveled the path that we're already on, and you are that for her. So that's awesome. She is a dynamic young lady, and so I look forward to her being able to come on and share one day on the call, because we have different age groups represented here, and we all have the same goal, which is to get from one mindset to the other. We are actually out of time, but I wanted to give a chance if we had anybody else who wanted to chime in. This has been an awesome discussion. We're talking about the top 10 distinctions between the middle class and the millionaires. I'll make sure that we get the link posted so that you can listen to it. But this book is a game changer. Anybody else? Any other callers on the line want to chime in before we wrap up today?
Hey, Jill, this is Dawn.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey, what's up? Hey, real quick, just a real quick thought and an idea, but a real quick thought. I think it's true for me. You transcend categories. We even talk about those 5 categories: poor, very poor. Is it middle class? I can't remember the rich, very rich. I think that's it.
Yep.
But I think you transcend categories the moment you change your mind. Because I would hate for, the way I'm sitting here thinking, I know I've seen this with my mom. A challenge I've had with her, and she's amazing, is that a lot of times, getting her to think a certain way, she tied it to, well, I don't have the money yet, so I'll think like that when I get the money. And I'm like, no, you'll never get the money if you don't think like that now. And so I got her through my financial planner. She cried because she didn't think she deserved to be there. I said, you had every right to be here. I don't care what you've got. It's about taking ownership and being proud of what you do have and making good choices with that. And then when you get more, you'll continue to make those good choices. And so I think it's critical to understand that you transcend those categories not by your bank account and the zeros in it, but by first and foremost by your mindset. Quite similarly to the prodigal son, he came back not when he physically, was back in the house with his dad, but when he changed his mind and decided this life ain't for me, I need to go back. So I think it's critical in that regard. And then just lastly, an idea. One of the things we're doing for our boys for Christmas, my son is into shoes, Nike, that sort of thing, and my other son is into drawing and graphics and wants to be a graphics artist for movies. So we contacted our guy, and we wanted to get stock for them. We had them, and we got stock in Nike and in Disney, and one share is the cost of a gift. But it's something now that when they look at it, they'll say, like, I own a piece of that company.
That's
and instead of longing to own the shoes, they'll try to develop a mindset in them. So it's just something that's another idea along the lines of what Janita said about giving experiences. So I appreciate the call.
I love that. I love that. I want to make sure you guys heard what Dawn said, is that you go to that next level as soon as you change your mind. You're not waiting on the money. You're waiting on the mind to be changed. The money comes once you change your mind. Thank you for sharing that. I had another person who said they wanted to share. Jump on in, 260-704. Jump on in.
Oh, Jill. Hey, Yolanda.
Oh, hey, Yolanda. I don't
Hi,
have a nice number.
Okay? Oh, yeah, it's me. I know I'm taking a little break because I'm like, okay, I got to say this. That whole mindset and changing your thinking is it's just crazy because just in the last few weeks, I've been dating somebody, on and off for 9 years. And when it comes to money and finances, he is totally on top of everything. This man, he doesn't even use a vending machine he works at General Motors. He doesn't even use a vending machine there at General Motors. He packs his lunch every day. Whereas here at Lincoln we have a store, and I'm always swiping my badge. So at the end of the pay period, I didn't spend $50 on snacks and drinks and pop and all kind of stuff or whatever. And I could just remember when we first started dating, and my boys were still in school. And I remember calling the 21st Century Scholar Program, hey, if I get married, am I going to be kicked off the program? But that was that thinking, I don't want to lose my son, possibility, of getting this scholarship. And even now, I'm so comfortable, where I live. And he's babe, my home it's a Habitat for Humanity home. So my mortgage is under $300 a month. And I'm comfortable, I have been comfortable. And he's babe, he was I'm working at General Motors and I'm a musician. He was just my one check from the church in 1 week will pay the mortgage and all the bills. He was but that's not no, he's we're not going to do that. And he's just always telling me, you got to get out of that mindset or whatever. You just want to live for today, you just want to do all this, fun stuff today. But what about in the future? And he's been out there 21 years and he's always talking about 9 years, I'm retired. I'm going to have money, and I'm retiring. But I just think about, Danita said, the family's just so different. I was raised by a single mom. My mom was a shopaholic. She always shopped. We went on vacations. We went on trips. We did all this stuff, Whereas his parents, his dad worked at GM for 40 years, and I swear every time I went to his parents' house, his dad had on the same flannel shirt, the same Dickie pants, They live in the same house out by Northrop where he was born in, but they just have money, just have money, just put away. They didn't, he would tell me all the time, Yolanda, we didn't go to McDonald's. He was my parents, and we had money, he was they were the first black family, in their neighborhood, and so on and so forth. So I know that, when it comes to finances and, money and just how we live, I know some of it is, just what we get from, what we've always, seen. And so I had told him, it's kind of funny, one more thing, but I had told him, I said, yeah, I said, I got to get this weight back off. I done picked up a few pounds or whatever. I said, I got to get this weight back off, so I'm just going to start now. So I kind of started like 2 weeks ago, but seriously a week ago. And he said, now, babe, how you going to say that you're going to start now or whatever trying to get this weight off, but you're going to tell me, well, I know you don't like me going out of town, all the time, but give me to the first of the year. At the first of the year, then that's when I start. Then I change my stinking thinking. Then I'll be ready to settle down and not go as much and, save this money and, and do this and do that or whatever. But, I mean, I'm serious, Joe. I mean, like, all morning I got a whole page full of notes, and I ain't got time to talk about all of it. Or whatever, but I mean, just that whole. I mean, it's real out here. You hear what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I'm excited. I've been on the call every week, and I got so many nuggets like every week, and yeah, I'm about to do some things or whatever. I'm trying to be quiet right now, but I'm excited, and I'm just ready for the future and what God has for me.
Absolutely, Yolanda. Thank you for sharing that, because you represent most people. Most of us would say, okay, I'm gonna do this. Give me to the first of the year. Or most of us get caught from being comfortable. That's what we've been taught, Yolanda. We've been taught to be comfortable. We've been taught to hit the vending machine. That we mimic what we've seen. But I'm so glad that we all have this circle, right? Where we can encourage, inspire, and challenge ourselves. But let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen, you don't go to the next place unless something or someone challenges you. Right, unless you see something different. Yolanda, it sounds like he's been challenging you the whole time, right? You see a difference in his lifestyle and in his savings, so that challenges you, right? He's part of your circle. If you don't have somebody in your circle that's challenging you or making you uncomfortable, you need to add some new people to your circle. Folks, we are out of time, and I still have more people. This is amazing. Lynette, I know you wanted to chime in, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. This has been amazing. Folks, get the audio link and chat. The 10 distinction is only like 10 minutes on the audio link. Lynette, go ahead and close us out.
Well, I just wanted to say these final words, and I just want to commend Yolanda for her transparency, because, most of us are trained for that instant gratification. But throughout the day, throughout the week, and as we're navigating through this book, just for all the listeners to really be honest, be willing to be honest with where we are. So, like, get a sheet of paper and just write, just your different beliefs about money, or about, just challenge the thoughts you have and look at it, and it's really important that we really just be authentic with where we are. Like Dawn said, the moment you change your mindset, your reality changes, and you're going to face this every day. But just remember, if you hang around 5 confident people, you will be the 6th. If you hang around 5 intelligent people, you will be the 6th. If you hang around 5 millionaires, trust me, you will be the 6th. But if you hang around 5 idiots, you're going to be the 6th. And I just wanted to end on that.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Folks, this is Momentum Monday After Call. Today we were led by Miss Michelle Washington. Amazing job today. Thank you so much. Woo! Thanks, Anita, for putting it down for us today. Thank you, Lynette, for holding it down. And we all miss Bishop. Bishop is resting this morning, but we're back with us next Monday morning. So you guys have an amazing, life-changing, mind-changing day. And we will see you next Monday on Momentum Mondays, where your Monday will never be the same. Have a great day, everybody.